Therefore hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory, and their multitude, and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. And the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. But the Lord Yahweh of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and power that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 14 to 16. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. It's a brother Aharon coming back at you with another lesson, Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, this is just another update. All right, today is the 17th, all right, June 17th, 2025, the hopeful year of the destruction of E and his kingdom and the deliverance of the elect. Okay, and we're going to jump right into it. All right, we see now all these things that's going on around the world. All right, makes us understand the times that we're in. Okay, because these are all part of the signs that we're supposed to be looking out for. Okay, and one of the biggest prophecies is right at the door. Okay, we're talking about the MOTB becoming the reality. Okay, mandatory upon the face of the earth. And of course, like I always say, over here on this channel, we always focus, most of the focus point, the focal point, all right, is on the steps leading to ultimately that MOTB becoming the reality. Okay, we have to give you the warning. We have to show you everything that's going on. All right, that's what watchmen are here for, you know. So let's get right into it. It says, Apple's WWDC 2025 announcement barely caused a ripple in mainstream headlines. Yet, buried in their list of exciting new features, is in quotes, was a quiet bombshell. iOS 26 will soon allow users to store digital passport IDs in Apple Wallet. What sounds like a nifty travel perk is in fact a giant leap toward a future where digital identification isn't just helpful, it's required. First for flights, then for logging into websites, eventually for participating in society at all. This isn't just a convenience update, it's a warning shot. The Transportation Security Administration, otherwise known as TSA, has confirmed it will begin accepting these digital passports at domestic checkpoints, making biometric and device-based identification a new standard for travel. Apple emphasizes this feature is, quote, not a replacement for your physical passport, end quote. At least not yet anyway. But the trajectory is clear. What begins as a helpful tool for airports is being positioned as the new foundation for proving who you are everywhere. And that's the problem. Okay, but see, it's not a problem for us because that's all falling right into the line of prophecy. Okay, when something falls into a line of something, that means that it's about to get hit with a shot. And they use the very verbiage of it's a shot, it's a warning shot. Okay, warning shot meaning the things that you're seeing now are just incremental steps to that one major thing that we've all been talking about. See, I saw a video this morning. I believe it was the elder brother Karatza Ba from B-More, and he was addressing a short little clip or comment that I looked like a pastor, yeah, because he was saying something about his congregation, all kinds of different things. But he's a pastor, right? And his opening statement was about how the church is diminishing and people are leaving the so-called church today and following after the doctrine of the what he first said Hebrew Israelites, and then he said, oh, y'all like to disrespect, so we're going to call you Black Hebrew Israelites, even though you guys don't call yourselves that. We're just going to call you that out of disrespect. right? And I'm like, well, you a pastor. Why are you playing these kind of games? Ain't nobody coming up to you and playing games with you. But we also understand that you have 2/3 within our nation that are going to be destroyed. Okay? A dude like him, a fat back, pudgy looking face like him, he will be destroyed if he doesn't repent. And I don't see him being of the elect. Why? Because he's coming against the very warning, the very prophets that are giving him the warning of what's to come so he could be delivered from it. He's pushing that away. He's saying that's garbage. He's basically calling it a stain in our society. You know, oh, the black Hebrew Israelites are this, the black Hebrew Israelites are that. But one thing you people, you fools, are forgetting and neglecting to pay attention to is the warnings that we're giving you. All right? You can't just focus on the histrionics of IUIC and ISUPK and then leave out the actual warnings that's being given to you by the prophets of GMS on down. You cannot do that. And then run around saying, oh, the Hebrew Israelites or this and that. You're neglecting the most important part of all of this. You're going to have controversy. This is Israel. Israelites are always going to be filled with controversy, at least until the Lord comes back. Okay? But you cannot negate to pay attention to the warning that you're seeing. You've seen the reality and we're explaining everything to you, and you still find a problem with it. This is why the Lord is going to destroy the majority of our people here in America, Babylon the Great, because they don't listen. Okay? That's why the Lord said in Isaiah, the 1st chapter, he says, sinful nation, right? A people laden with iniquity, right? The whole head is sick. He said, why should you be stricken anymore? Why am I going to hit you? Why am I going to put you in captivity and punish you anymore? Right? The whole head is sick. I'm just going to do away with these people. I'm going to take out my remnant, my elect, and the rest I'm just going to destroy. Point blank, period. Ain't no debates about that. That's exactly what the Lord is going to do, and he has to do that. Okay? You have women talking shit, talking about, oh, this is why the black Hebrews like say that this is Esau. It's just a whole mess, And you missed the point. The whole point of what we're telling you, we're explaining everything to you, right? As is written in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, making it plain upon tables. Okay? And ultimately, only the elect are the ones who are going to pay attention to it, listen to the warning, and make the change that is sufficient enough for salvation. That's our main priority here. Everybody else, you could talk your shit, do whatever you want to do, but the reality of what we're warning about is about to happen. And when it happens, you're going to be the same fat bitches that are going to be running your mouth talking about, what are we going to do? You better not come on our comment boards asking us what we're going to do. Whether you're scoffing, well, what y'all going to do about this? Or it's in sincerity, we don't want to hear it. The Lord doesn't want to hear it. He said, pray not for these people. The Lord does not want to hear it. Okay? So continue, it says, this is a part of a wider global push. Apple is already rolling out mobile driver's licenses across numerous states. Similar programs are underway in Europe, Canada, and parts of Asia. Governments and corporations are teaming up to turn your phone into your wallet, your keys, and your identity. What is that going to be looking like? It's literally a small little device known as an RFID implant. Okay? What they call seamless access. Many experts are beginning to call seamless surveillance. Okay? Now, typically, you leave it to Americans, you're going to get a different story. But typically, people don't want to be, living a life where they're being constantly surveilled. Okay, and that is why over the years, for Esau to come up with the structure they have now, it had to be done deceitfully, right? Over time, something known as the boiling frog method, otherwise known as gradualism, right? They always had to use gradualism. Maybe you might try to push something in this generation, but you might have such resistance, you might push it to 3 generations down the line. 3 generations down the line, you start the preparation now, right? By indoctrinating the youth, changing the food, the media that's being given to these people, the medication, basically changing the mindset, the attitude. And it all starts with something known as demoralization. Once you demoralize a company or a country or a people, it's easy for you to input your so-called morals or lack thereof upon them. Other words, your philosophies or thinking processes you can input on these people. And then by the 3rd generation or 4th generation, it will be easier to implement those things you try to do 3-4 generations ago where you met all that resistance. So that happens over time, right? Good thing for you people is the Lord blessed you with prophets where we can go back into those times, highlight those changing crises that happened that brought us to this point. And then we can explain to you and say, hey, this is what's going to happen after this. This is what's going to happen after that. So you're getting the full shebang, right? But these people, they're like swine. They don't know, they don't recognize what they have until it's gone. And they're still probably not going to recognize it after it's gone. All right. But ultimately, the point is, they've managed to get to a point in human history today where this prophecy can be fulfilled and will be fulfilled. They don't need 10 more years to fulfill this prophecy here. All right. It's all happening now. But like I was saying earlier, is that naturally people will push back against that. Right. So it's going to be, if it's going to be done, it's going to be done against the will of the people. Ain't no countries voting for this shit. It's their puppet governments that are pushing for these things to happen in these various countries. And they're using the rhetoric of peace and safety. Of course, safety goes into security, right? Convenience, right? All these different things eventually becomes necessity, right? This is just how things are, So it's a gradual but accelerated gradualism is what I call it. Accelerated gradualism that's happening. So they're still going through the steps, but you don't have those gaps 5-10 years between. No, it's literally monthly now, weekly, daily with the implementation of AI, right? They're gathering enough information so quick, right? Dataism. They're gathering so much information so fast about people that they can build faster with their infrastructure to get the people in the direction they want them to go in. Okay. So, people can scoff all they want, but you don't have as much as you think you have. Those days where it takes time for things to happen, them days are over. Things are happening much, much faster now, almost like warp speed, right? So continuing, and they know they're going to be met with resistance, but they're going to find it, all right, because it's biblical prophecy. This prophecy will be fulfilled. The whole entire planet is going to go underneath, under this trial, this test, okay? It says, once embedded in our daily routines, this is the step we're in right now. These new things, these new technological trends are being embedded in our natural, regular routines, right? You have a cell phone. Elon Musk and them are talking about by 2026, that cell phone is going to be obsolete. That means something new is about to pop on the scene soon. That's going to be the new thing. That's going to, eventually phase out, the utilization of cell phones. Of course, you're still going to be using phones and stuff, but the convenience of you using a phone is going to wane. And then you got to upgrade to the next new thing that brings you convenience, So it says, once embedded in our daily routines, digital IDs don't stop at airports or banking apps. They move into healthcare, education, employment, online logins, even access to news and social media. Some jurisdictions are already testing these boundaries. Remember, these things we just mentioned, your banking apps, your healthcare, education, employment, online log, all these different things, social media. To a degree, people can access these things at will. You can pick up your phone, log into your socials, and then you can check and scroll all day mindlessly and then end the day off, whatever. People can still do that. But what happens when you actually have to log in for the government to know, okay, this so-and-so just logged online, right? And this is the website that they're visiting. And this is what they're doing or commenting or liking, all right? These are the videos they watched. This is the transaction they made. It's different when you know that somebody's spying on you and whatever activity you're doing can be used against you. It's completely different at that point. See? So that the feeling of being on social media, not knowing that you're being spied on, compared to being on social media, knowing that you're being spied on and it can be used against you, it alters your behavior. Consciously, you start, I can't say that because, what I'm saying, they know exactly who I am. Like, shit, niggas could pull up on me and then arrest me because I said something that was so-called considered anti-Sem or that was considered hate or whatever. Expressing your feelings and emotions could cost you fines or jail time. It's not about the actions. It's just the thought alone. That's enough for them to criminalize you. See? So this is the world we're leading into. All right. And it's fast approaching. It says, and the United Nations has floated proposals to link digital ID systems to internet access itself, or it's like internet access itself. Okay. And I believe the Prime Minister of Spain, All right, back a few months ago, I think it was like March or February, around there. He said that. He said, internet anonymity, has to be something that's, done away with. Each and every citizen must have their actual, real life IDs tied to their online ID. You see what I'm saying? And with that, there'll be more control. Larry Fink from BlackRock, he's mentioned it multiple times about the importance of behavior alteration. And it starts with the workplace, like these corporate work jobs and stuff. I mean, hey, they're doing their thing, man. If you're not seeing it, hey, it is what it is, right? It says a supposed solution to stop AI-powered impersonations and disinformation. So they set it up, and then it comes with a problem, and then they come up with a solution for that problem. Anyway, continue. It says they call it, quote, proof of personhood. But what it really proves is that your right to exist in the digital world may soon be contingent on state-sanctioned credentials. If you don't have the proper credentials, you cannot be online. Okay? Where we live in a world where everything is online. Life itself takes place online. Continue, says, we've seen this pattern before. Tech promises ease. It delivers frictionless interactions and smart features. But once we're hooked, the terms change. So now you're starting to see why it says, and it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So the causing is the system overhaul. Once it's changed, now you're required to change in order to interact with the change that just happened. Right? The physical human body must change. All right. You must implement something implant something in order to interact with this new changed world. Okay. It says credit cards become chip cards. Chip cards become tap to pay. Now, even carrying a physical card seems outdated when your phone can do everything. Digital ID will follow the same pattern, from optional to expected, then from expected to enforced. Digital ID. Radio frequency ID. Okay. It says, and when enforcement arrives, it will be subtle at first. For your safety is what they'll say. To protect against fraud is what they'll say. To stop bots and deepfakes is what they'll say. You need your digital ID to prove you are real is what they'll say. Not just at airports, but on message boards, Zoom calls, even job applications. Can't verify? No access. Soon, anonymity online, already endangered, will be outlawed entirely under the banner of security. But security for whom? Right? The idea that you need a digital ID to fly may seem reasonable to some, but think forward a few years, not years, but months. Okay? What happens when your digital identity becomes the access point for every major part of life? Want to post an opinion online? Log in with your verified ID. Want to read an article on a sensitive topic? Prove your age and location. Oh shit. Well, it looks like VPNs are going to go out of business soon. It says, want to make a donation to a political or religious cause? The system logs it. Want to attend church, buy groceries, or get medical care during a state of emergency? Your digital ID determines your permissions at this point, all right? It says, in some nations, digital ID has already been used to track political dissidents. In others, it's tied to Vanessa status or credit history. Look no further than China. The potential for abuse isn't theoretical, it's happening. What Apple and the TSA are normalizing now is just the American version, softened through design and smooth marketing. Like everything else, okay? They'll sell you shit and make it look and seem like the most healthiest diet you can ever be on. Okay? It says the most alarming part of this digital transformation is not the technology, it's the consolidation of power. With digital ID systems, a few corporations and government agencies become the ultimate gatekeepers of access. to travel, to commerce, to information, to community. And you got Elon Musk, you got Larry Ellison, you got Sam Altman. Now, of course, you can include Peter Thiel with Palantir. You know, we talk about Palantir all the time, right? Because they're going to play a major role in this panopticon that's being built right now, this Big Brother system / beast technological system. Okay? It says, and make no mistake, once this infrastructure is built, it won't just be used for good. It will be exploited. It always is. Apple's slick UI cannot hide the deeper reality. The shift from physical autonomy to digital dependency is almost complete. Ooh. When your passport lives on your phone, your rights live on someone else's server. Ooh. It's heavy. When your rights live on someone, it says when your passport lives on your phone, your rights live on someone else's server. So if that server goes down, you ain't got no rights. See how quickly they turn everything? It says, this isn't fear-mongering, it's foresight. And that's what a lot of people say, oh, stop fear-mongering. Oh, that's just fear porn. Oh, da. Yo, we're giving you warning, bro. You soft-ass, mushmelly-ass niggas that always want to be sensitive over everything. This is not the time for all that sensitive shit. A lot of people with that sensitive mindset, you're going to get killed quick, man. You're going to be out of there fast. Okay? The times we're entering into, you gotta be hard, man. Okay? You gotta literally be like on some Iron Man steel hard type shit. You know, physically, mentally, and of course, ultimately spiritually. That's what's gonna guide everything. You know, if you're spiritually weak, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it past the first 10 days of the test. All right? 10 days is even too much. All right? Americans have not seen what's coming. They've never seen. That's why it says a time like never before. Okay? A time like never before, because the shit that's about to happen here is not just going to be happening in just the place that you're in. It's everywhere. You ain't got nowhere else to hide, nowhere else to run. They're building a system, infrastructure / pit / prison. Okay? So it's not, man, look, man, this thing is not going to be, oh, yeah, I was just saying this, but look. Yeah, the shit it's going to be worse than how we even describe it. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be worse. It says a time like never before. We describe it based on the things that we've seen in history and things we've seen in movies. And so they try their best to depict it. But knowing the Heavenly Father, man, he can go above and beyond what you're thinking. Way above and beyond what you're thinking. See what I'm saying? And he can make it so devastating because it could happen in an instant. In a moment's notice. Boom. Just like that. All of a sudden, your life has changed. No planning, no awareness, nothing. Just boom, out of nowhere. Now what? You got people saying, "Oh, I'm prepping." You know, doomsday preppers and all that. Look, you could doomsday prep all you want. It could be that one day where you're not even around where you're trying to be at. That's when all hell breaks loose. Now you get caught up in the whole shit. Now everything you've been prepping for all these years, boom, gone. It's going for somebody else who deserves it. You know. So yo, man, you gotta think of the nuance. You gotta think of the sudden changes that could happen out of nowhere. And if you don't got the Spirit of the Lord with you, you can't make it out. You see, there are certain situations that you go through that only the Spirit can override that. Your physical, your mental is not going to get you nowhere. You have to have the Spirit of the Lord to override certain things that you may feel or think that you're seeing or whatever the case may be. Right? Certain things that might be impossible or limiting to the mind and body, the Spirit will override that. You know, that's why we emphasize the importance of tapping into the Spirit now, getting used to how the Lord deals with you. You know, really embedding yourself with the Spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So that way, when the time comes, these tests and trials and the challenges of having to be patient and, you know, being strong in the time of adversity and all these different things, you know, it's not going to be strange. It's not going to be too difficult. You know, you've detached yourself from the world enough where when they take everything away, it's not too much of an adjustment that you got to do. You just got to lean on faith and move, you know. But if you haven't been on that type of time, like a lot of these people who've been living off of Esau's empire and kingdom and all this wickedness, and they want to keep seeing that this system keep going, they're gonna be the ones caught out there. All right, like that pastor that was talking and shit, talking about the Hebrew Israelites are the ones swaying everybody and they're influenced by the church and all this dumb shit. Like, dude, just shut up, man. You people say the craziest stuff. Is like, do you think before you put that camera on to say all that shit you saying, like, we're not gonna see you saying this shit? It's like, we gonna see you, bro. All right, we see you, and if we do, then the Lord also sees you. Make a fool out of yourself in the sight of the Lord like that. Jake, man. So continuing, it says, this isn't fear mongering, it's foresight. And the time to speak up is now, before these systems become so deeply entrenched that opting out is no longer an option. Well, opting out has never been an option. Okay, that's just what the prophecy says. Causeth all. Okay, so the only time you can get to opt out is when you're presented with it and you say, I don't want to deal with it, with the consequences of ultimately a death penalty. Because like it says at first it comes off as convenient, and it becomes necessity, and then it becomes enforced. It's like, all right, there's steps to this shit. And that's all part of the trials. The first, it starts off, everybody, people getting the chip. Life is still going to go on, but it's going to be a lot more people opting to take the C-hip because life is a little easier. If you don't take the C-hip, you can still live for a little bit, but it's going to be a little harder now. You got to prove a whole lot of shit. You got to go through paperwork, and everything you do is like mad extra. You know what I'm saying? You being treated like a second-class citizen, and then you're starting to see those people who took it, they're starting to be living a little better. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like they're getting all these benefits. Life is a little easier for them. It's like they're showing off. You could be online. You could do all these different things that we can't do. You see what I'm saying? But it's going to be for a short time. And then when they start enforcing it, right, that's when you're going to be like, oh, shit. The C-hip thing is like actual imprisonment. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's when people are going to start realizing it. So that's when they're going to have to enforce it. Because when people start realizing, even those who took it, they're going to start realizing that this thing is not even as beneficial as I thought it would. Just like the jump shot. They took it and now they regret it. Same thing. A lot of people are going to take it and regret it, but it's going to be enforced now. At that point, there's nothing you can do. And those of us who opt to not take it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, we're going to face and take the brunt of all this bullshit that they're going to do, but we're going to prevail because that's what's written. All right, we got the victory over the beast. Okay? Everything. All these things, we're going to get victory over that. All right? So it's game over at this point. It says, because the truth is, you may soon need a digital ID, not just to travel, but to live. Okay? And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the, what. Okay? So yeah, before I leave it off there, let me just grab this quick precept, and then we're going to close it out. All right? We are in those times. Okay? There's a book of Proverbs, chapter 30, and verse, Proverbs chapter 30, verse, I'm starting at 13. It says, there is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. And that's going into Esau's pride. Okay? It says, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Right? They got that disdainful, proud look to them. Like, we gonna run this shit. We gonna, like Gil Bates. You know what I'm saying? The second one will get their attention. Like, they speak very confident about their evil schemes and agendas. Like, nobody's going to stop them. You know what I'm saying? Verse 14 says, there is a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth and the needy from among men. Okay, and ultimately the poor is representing the Israelites, starting with the elect. Okay, we're poor in this world, but rich, all right, in knowledge, in wisdom, in faith, and in favor from Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. We are abundantly rich in favor from the Lord. Okay, and it's going to be shown when his son comes back, because we the ones, Lord willing, we of that number, we the ones who going to be shown that favor to be delivered. Okay, everybody else, man, you going to taste of that fire. Okay, so it says, verse 15, the horse leech hath two daughters, crying, give, give. There are three things that are never satisfied. Yea, four things say not, it is enough. Okay, and that Esau is one of them. he's never satisfied, man. His desire is as hell, as is written in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. Okay, verse 16, it says, the grave and the barren womb, the earth that is not filled with water, and the fire that saith not, it is enough. Okay, and all these different things, right? You got the grave, you got the barren womb, right? You could hit that all day. If she's barren, she ain't gonna have no child. She could try and try. She can't have no child, right? The grave, it takes on these bodies. People get buried every day, right? And it's never been like, oh, well, over all these years, We've ran out of space to bury people, right? It says the earth that is not filled with water. When you pour water on dry earth, you could pour and pour and pour. It just keeps seeping all the way down. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't stop until it gets to a point where you're pouring the water to a point where the land itself already has water. So when you pour, you start seeing the water rising up, and then it gets to the surface of the soil. But other than that, you keep pouring water on dry land or soil. It's just going to keep seeping all through. Okay. It says, and the fire that saith not, it is enough, because fire keeps burning until it stops. Right. If you leave fire to rage, it's going to keep on going. That's why these firefighters be on it, because fire doesn't, just stop. That's why America is going to be on fire for a very long time, for years. Okay. Because once the Lord sets this place ablaze, you got all these elements. Actually yesterday we were talking about in class, and it sparked this thought in my mind of how genius and how much of a war tactic the Lord Yahweh is, right? Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? Because brothers was mentioning how, Esau right now in America, they're pretty much importing like wood, lumber, all kinds of different stuff, resources from different countries, because they don't want to use their own shit. So in case of an emergency, they have their own stuff that they can use without, any real obstruction, right? So oil, they've put the reserves that they have, they put it on lock. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things that America could really do for themselves, they don't do. They rather import from elsewhere. And, brothers gave different examples. And the first thing that came to my mind is, yeah, that's good, because the Lord is literally setting America up to keep all these resources, because that's what he's going to use as part of the fuel for the flames. You got gas stations everywhere. They have oil reserves, so that the land has oil. So once the missiles hit, that's even going to spark up with the petroleum is going to spark up even more. Okay, they had the Gulf of was it Gulf of Mexico? Now it's become the Gulf of America. I think that's what it is. A few years ago, they had the BP spill, right? They had all that oil in the water over there, right? So that's also a thing to think about. That means that they have oil around, right? All the other resources that America has is all going to be part of the fuel to the Lord's fiery flame that he's going to light America's ass up with, all right, when those nuclear missiles finally hit this place. And like I said, only the elect will be the ones to gain that favor to be delivered. Okay. And let me see here. Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? So yeah, man, you're seeing the signs, man. We got to keep paying attention. I thought there was another breaking news, but nothing yet so far. Seeing what's going on in the with Iran and so-called Israel out there. Right now, they're saying that China and Russia have pledged their support for Iran. So you're starting to see the pieces being put together. Okay, America, Israel, China, Iran, Russia, right? So we're seeing all the major players again being brought in like a vortex. All right, and they're all going to be brought in to fulfill prophecy. The book of Jeremiah talks about the least of the flock, drawing them out. Okay, drawing them out. All right, and with that, you have prophecy also being fulfilled domestically and around the world in regards to the MOTB prophecy. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it off there. Lord willing, you were edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash, the water Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And until next time, Shalom.